Good morning, Hank. It's Tuesday. I spent last week in New York City at Book Expo America, which is essentially like the VidCon of book publishing. Immediately upon arriving at BEA, I saw the author and publisher of the forthcoming Reach trapped inside a bubble, and then Olivia walked by, who in real life is much taller and less talkative than you'd expect, and I knew I was in for a celebrity fest. Hank, at BEA, it feels like the world treats books the way they usually treat, like, iPads. Witness, for instance, this mad dash for advanced readers' copies of an anticipated first novel, or this entire staircase devoted to the work of Cassandra Clare. There were huge banners advertising Libba Bray's new book, and there was also quite a bit of attention for The Fault in Our Stars, Vanna Whited Here by the extraordinary Elise Marshall. Incidentally, someone listed The Fate in Our Stars as their favorite book of the moment. I corrected them. So I was at BEA to do some interviews and signings, and also to reveal the new cover of An Abundance of Catherines, which was designed by 17-year-old longtime nerd fighter Sarah Turbin. Her Tumblr's in the doobly-doo. Sarah and I got to hang out for a little while, and then she had to leave because it was her prom night. I also had to give a couple speeches, one of which involved me hanging out not only with Lois Lowry and Kadir Nelson, but also with Golden Globe winner Chris Colfer, who turned out to be an extraordinarily nice and generous and quick-witted person. I'll get back to Colfer in a minute, but first I went to a lunch featuring many great writers, including Taya Obrecht and Jeffrey Eugenides, one of the two authors, the other being Michael Chabon, who really made me want to be a writer when I read their books in high school. I spent about 10 minutes filming Mr. Eugenides from the back before I got up the courage to shake his hand, and then I made a total ass out of myself, of course. Right, so then I met a bunch of nerd fighters, one of whom gave me a singamajig with a star covering its genitalia. I got to hang out with Chris Colfer, I spoke to an enormous room full of people, and then I ate dinner with the brilliant Shannon Hale and M.T. Anderson, with whom I once broke into abandoned buildings in Detroit. I love M.T. Anderson, and he always speaks in full and beautiful sentences. Like, whenever anyone criticizes the intelligence of a character in a book, I always feel like it's a huge F you to all the teen intellectuals who already have their peers crapping on them. And then after dinner, I found myself on a very strange elevator, and then I was atop this skyscraper.
I don't want to get too specific right now, but I'm peeing, and this is my view.
What? Later, this room would contain not only Chris Colfer, but also Tony Danza, John Hodgman, some SNL cast members, 2 Real Housewives of New York and/or New Jersey, a mob wife, and the great writer Darin Strauss, who wrote Chang and Ang, the book that introduced me to conjoined twins literature. As I geeked out while talking to Mr. Strauss, I realized that even though I liked Chris Colfer a great deal, I hadn't felt nearly so nervous around him. He was just a guy, albeit an uncommonly handsome and well-dressed one, but around Eugenides or Darin Strauss, I was shaking. In our hyper-secular world, worship is still inevitable, but it's vital to remember that our gods don't choose us. We choose them. I could have chosen a mob wife. Sure glad I chose Eugenides. Hank, I'll see you on Friday.